After 6:30 on September 12th, the regular school board meeting here at the high school. And Rick, let's first rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
But you didn't get locked on. You're in the online.
Alrighty, so first looking for motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any changes to the agenda? I just will note that we do have to approve the warrants under finance. So with that, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from August 22nd. So moved.
Second.
Any questions, corrections, or discussion on those minutes? All right, hearing nothing, all those in favor of approving the minutes from August 22, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, next public comments. Looking around the room here in person, I don't see anyone from the public. Is there anyone online attending virtually who has a public comment? Okay, hearing no public comment, we'll move on to correspondence. I received nothing. Brooke, any correspondence?
Nothing.
Okay, next, student presentation, FHUMHS. Ben, Kate, good evening.
Might take a
Is that really how many people are really following me now?
Wow. I might be one off because I did this based on schedules and I think so. So we're gonna do a presentation just to go over how things have been going with the new middle school through the transition. And we use Thought Exchange. I can share this this link out afterwards. It gives you more details. So what we did is we sent a survey to the 7th and 8th graders with the question of how's your experience at the new middle school been so far? And I kind of broke down the details to that, saying what's really working for you, what are some of the challenges you're facing. And so we had 138 respondents that shared 166 thoughts, and they can actually rank each other's ideas through this process. So there's 4,000 plus rankings on this. And it allows us to take this information and break it into different themes. I'll kind of give you a quick overview. There's a lot to dig into here, but there's a couple of big themes that emerge with our students. And I have a video piece to this too, interviewing some of the students, and they pretty much say a lot of what we'll talk about here through the surveys. So this is ranking it based on the stars. So 4 is the highest. It's not necessarily ranking it on how many students said something about movement breaks or the bathrooms, concerns they might have had. But as you go through this yourself, you can actually see this one had, there's a category I created, and I moved 5 different thoughts from students into this category. And when we click on it, it will give you kind of a breakdown of those. It'll go through all of them, where some students are saying, I really don't like the assigned seats. I want to get out and move more. Or you go down here, or actually I'll go to physical space. We have 25 total thoughts on this. So this was a big one for our middle school students. More or less what was being expressed is it's tight. There's a lot of students in a small space. And when you go through some of their overall thoughts on the new middle school, the themes I was really pulling from it were that students were saying the experience is great. We're really enjoying the teachers. We're enjoying new students. We're enjoying the movement between classes. But what we'd like to see more of is more physical space, bathrooms, more specific movement breaks. So the movement I was talking about a second ago is that movement from class to class they really enjoyed. But what they're also talking about is I'd love to be able to have our inquiry period, something where we can go outside and have some fun and run around and kind of reminiscent of recess. There's another view of this that I think is also pretty handy to go through. It's the same information, but again, it breaks down each one. So if I were to say, okay, fun, I click on it. Some of these would say, hey, I want to have more fun. Others are saying this is very fun. It's a pretty mixed bag, and there are some pretty colorful comments too, which are really fun to read.
Oh my God, they want to talk.
And it's like something about Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I left that one on there because I really felt like the second piece school was great. I love it so much. I hope we get more awesome, yummy food.
Yeah, Ben, can I interject for a second?
Absolutely.
Thought Exchange is a new platform that we're using this year to try to improve communication. So far, we're just working with Ben, the middle school and high school. It's a fairly costly software system. So we just started to roll it out. I just did a thought exchange today with the leadership team. So it's something that we're, parents are going to be seeing more and more of, and the community is going to be seeing more and more of, and students are going to be seeing more of, but we're just trying to get our feet wet. But it's just another engagement tool that we're trying to use.
Yeah, and of nearly 140 comments, I was pretty blown away how a platform that uses anonymity, 7th and 8th graders were being very, very forthright and saying, this is what I really like, this is what I don't like. There was a small handful of comments that were just silly and goofy, and I didn't really, they're still included, but they're not categorized. And it allows you to break down those categories and start to make sense of the data. And there's also a function to this where if I have one that's talking about math, I want to say there were several comments just saying that I love math class, I love working with Mr. Eddie, and I can take those and I can assign them to Kevin Eddie or to another teacher saying, hey, these are the things that kids are saying about math that they really like, or this is what they're saying about math they'd like to see change. So it's a pretty powerful tool to be able to pass on amongst your team as well. So a component I'd like to share too, I wanted to get student voice involved in this as well. So I went around and I interviewed about 8 or 9 students that gave a good representation across 7th and 8th grade and asked them simple questions of what's worked, what do you really like about the middle school transition, and what would you like to see change about middle school? And they gave some really interesting insight, and I'll play that for you right now.
I personally think that from the elementary to the middle school, I like the middle school more because you have to move around instead of just like sitting in one area, or you only have to walk a little bit. I like actually having to move around more.
What works is that it's a bigger hallway than the other middle school that we have.
I like how now I get to meet more teachers and that I like how different ways from all other schools come together in ways and what everyone needs.
I pretty much like everything. I like all the teachers, pretty much very good. I've been in a lot of the schools. I'd rather be here in the high school, so I get used to the school.
Living in the classroom and meeting, moving, and having different classmates and teachers.
I like how the teachers are nice, and I like how there's different periods are like in middle school.
I like that it's mostly separated from the high school, and I like how all the classes are separated and all that.
The best thing that's worked so far in middle school is like the places. Like it's really easy to go around in places and find your classrooms.
New teachers.
I like how everyone's like really kind this year. it isn't as crazy either.
I don't think there really is any, but maybe one thing for refreshment is like maybe kids just don't like argue with the teacher. So
You don't argue with the teacher. Oh.
What doesn't work is the water fountain. And it's really loud. It's been under classrooms. Something I don't like is, I say that we need a couple more bathrooms. I say bigger lockers, and it's way too hot in the middle school. Getting new, like more bathrooms and more water fountains, and maybe bigger lockers. Definitely bigger lockers.
Bigger lockers is a common theme.
bigger lockers.
Bigger
Just the middle school. For the high school thing, we never really locker.
Probably not having to go into the high school. Because it's kind of awkward when 7th graders go into the high school, but other than that, it's really good.
Are they going to high school?
Make sure the hallways aren't as crowded as usual, because those times the hallways are like really crowded and feels like everyone's like compacted, and they should do the gym thing soon.
The hallway times to get to different classrooms. And the bathrooms.
I don't know.
Bathroom themes.
And
You need bigger
This
bathrooms.
is a big theme.
Bigger bathrooms.
Water fountain.
And I
Water
want
fountain.
to speak a little bit about the rafting trip. They did a rafting trip for 7th and 8th grade last week, Thursday and Friday, to continue a long-standing tradition at Fairhaven Grade School that came here, and there was just a ton of great feedback that Kate can speak to.
Yeah, so the trip really focused on teamwork and community building in the middle school. Our advisory theme for September is identity. So who are we as individuals? Who are we as an advisory? Who are we as a 7th or 8th grade? And then who are we as a school community? So the kids did excellent with rafting. They had to follow the directions of their rafting guides. They had to come together and work together as a team to navigate down the river. And it was just a great experience for everyone who was there, including our teachers and staff. I think it was a good chance for them to get to know some new kids and for them to come together as well. One student in particular that was on my raft during the 8th grade trip has historically struggled in school in just about every way that you can imagine, and was really nervous about going on the trip at all. And we got him to go, and midway through he yelled to a teacher on another raft, "I changed my mind about this trip." And that was probably the first time since he's been in our district that he's had a positive, cooperative experience with his peers where he learned something new and could accomplish something that was a goal. So I think that's really just the first of those kinds of experiences that we're going to have this year. But it was a great way to start everything. So.
And if you haven't seen the middle school yet after the board meeting, I'm volunteering, Crest.
Wide open.
We can walk through it if you haven't seen it yet.
Have we received any feedback from the high schoolers on the transition, the experience?
To be honest with you, I think it's had in general, a pretty low impact on high school. When you get on the second floor of this building, you wouldn't know there was middle school here. One student, talking about the awkwardness as a 7th grader transition or coming through the high school. What they're really talking about is just this little section of hall. And I would say when they go down to the music room, there's probably no high schoolers in that hallway. So it's pretty minimal. Yep. But I think that's just the anxiety that's being felt at the 7th and 8th grade level. Through the high school, though, I not much has come across my desk regarding that.
No, and I would say for the most part, the high schoolers are just really curious about the space. And they are also really excited to see some of their old teachers. That's actually been one of the motivators for a couple of kids to kind of peek down I think I've had to redirect maybe 2 students this whole time who just wanted to peek down and see. We haven't had students wandering down there. And for the most part, the high schoolers have been really respectful and really accommodating and really understanding that these are students who are younger than them and developmentally in different places. And it's been really smooth.
I think where we're gonna see it is as we begin to open up the clubs and the different extracurricular activities. There's some clubs that are gonna be 7-12, and I think that's gonna create an opportunity that's gonna be really positive where we kind of blend that in certain situations.
I was just going to add, my only experience recently has been having to go to the nurse's office to get some paperwork completed for a field trip that I'm going on with students. And high schoolers and middle schoolers use that space, and they are unbelievable about waiting outside until someone is finished. And there's no, funny business, for lack of a better term, there. I think that just happens based on proximity of that space and people just recognizing that, you're sharing a space together, and they seem to be totally fine.
Had a few high school students ask me why they didn't get such a cool space. They're a little jealous.
And one anecdotal piece that I think is kind of interesting too. So one of the shared areas is with our social emotional interventionists. They both share that spot. Andrew Lebeck mostly focuses on the middle school students, and he'll come into classrooms as needed. But if we have a situation where we might have some high school students in that room and middle school students really having a tough day, there hasn't been anything that has really come up from those experiences, other than one I can think of is there was a younger student in there really struggling, I think being brought to tears around some situation. There's some high school students in there that were really gave the space they needed, said, hey, it's okay. We all have hard days, and actually kind of stepped up in that mentor role and knew when to give space and leave the room. So and that's kind of one space in the building that's sort of a high anxiety area where students go to really process some different things. And I think if it's working there, it's going to work pretty much anywhere in the building.
I would also just note that I was doing some quick counts here in terms of our admissions in and our requests for records out. And so far this year, we've had 165 new students come into the district. We've only had 35 requests going out. That new in does include like our new kindergartners and our new pre-K students that weren't with us previously. But I think it's important to note, as they talked about space, I knew personally from taking in, we have a lot more new 7th graders. And so in just doing a quick count, like in that grade alone, I think we entered in approximately 10 new 7th graders. So when you talk about rooms being crowded, that 10 out of 80, like it's almost a 8 to 10% increase in your population at that grade. So unusual that we would have that number. So of those 35 requests out, I only see one student that was at the middle school level. So, we have definitely taken in more students at the middle school level, and I don't know if the middle school attracted them to this area or if that just happens to be that we took in more 7th and 8th graders this year, but we don't have any going out. We have one that moved to another community.
And if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to hear them. But I just, I think it's been an incredibly successful start to the school year. I think a lot of the things that we were concerned about in the spring and over the summer did not come to fruition. And I think the middle school team has really come together very well in a short amount of time. And it's very clear to me that they're here for every single one of those students to give them what they need. So I just appreciate them getting everything together for our kiddos.
So it's been a short time. Are you planning on redoing this at the end of the quarter or semester?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good progress to see how opinions change over time. Absolutely.
One comment I had is that there's no windows.
Yep.
My daughter's in there and she seems to be doing okay, which was
she's shy anyway, so she actually came home. I asked her how school was. She said it was great. And that's like, I don't hear that very often from her.
So in terms of the interactions between the two cohorts, I guess there's obviously the morning entry, the afternoon exit. But other than that, there's really not many circumstances where middle schoolers come in contact. Maybe the art room or this little
Yeah, this
here.
hallway here.
Little breakout section here where they come to some specials, music, nurse, and maybe the social emotional room, but that's about the extent
And the
of it.
school bus, they've always interacted on, K through 12,
The
so.
only change with dismissal and arrival is just that we're adding 200 students to a specific location. They've always been, like Brooke said, they've been on the bus together, but now they're just, it's a management issue to make sure that everyone's getting on safely.
And we're offering a lot of extracurricular 7 through 12. Like we're going to be offering bass fishing now, grades 7 through 12. So like, I mean, those are just some examples of things that we're putting in. So they will obviously have interaction.
All right, thank you. Anybody else questions for the team? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. Alrighty, next on the agenda is the central office report, which was included. Does anyone have any questions for any of the administrators? Casey?
I was just going to say that, what?
Did I interrupt you?
No, oh, it's all right. No, I was
cut
just
things
going to
short?
say, with the central office report,
Oh.
that I've asked everyone to connect the report to our district goals. So that's, I mean, there might be some extra things from time to time in there, but part of the report will be reporting on our district goals so that we can clearly see that we're working on those. When you have a student presentation here, it will be connected to our district goals. It will have something to do with engagement. It will have something to do with, could have something to do with the community, but it will be connected to our district goals. So we're really making a concerted effort, from me to the principals to the staff, right on down, that everything we do for the most part is connected to those goals.
So I just wanted to add to Casey's FHU 12th graders, where it talks about all the ways that they're engaged. I reached out to Tia Stillman, who is the Gear Up coordinator for school, and just to get her numbers to see who she's working with. She has 137 Fairhaven Union middle school, high school students, because she works with 8 through 12. And of those 137, she has 40 who are seniors. So Gear Up is college and career. They do both. So they work towards getting them into trade school and or college. Like they do both. And then with Upward Bound, we have 12 Upward Bound students here at Fairhaven. And of those 12, we have 8 seniors. So we have a large senior cohort this year. So those kids are also working on college and career aspirations right now. So just wanted to add that to his little roundup of what they're doing.
And I included what was in there under my report in regards to seniors, because there was a meeting that I was virtual for and I couldn't participate. The audio wasn't working. And so I thought it was neat to check in, and I checked in on the 6th of September and looked at student schedules through PowerSchool and identified what students were participating in some level, as I could tell, in their courses of college or career, and in some cases both, preparation. And if that's something that's a part of our mission, trying to track how could we say that we were in fact fulfilling our mission by recognizing that through students programming. And so that was an indicator of being able to do that. And I think it's a credit to Ben, and it was talked about a little bit in the finance meeting, of requiring seniors this year to enroll in 6 credits, which is something we haven't always adhered to in the past. And that allowed me to see what students were scheduled for. Students are still changing schedules, and it's still left unknown if they'll complete the courses, but at least it's a good starting point for us to be able to kind of unearth what it is they're experiencing as they go into their senior year. So that's why I included that, because I couldn't participate before.
All right, are there any other questions or discussion points regarding anything contained within the central office report?
There's a couple other items later down on the agenda, and so I tried to put information in my report that would help when we get to those.
Okay.
Just because I know it's hard to sometimes digest information and then feel like you understand what's being shared with you. So that was my strategy. I don't know if it worked that well.
Alrighty, hearing nothing, we'll move on to contracts and resignations. Looks like we've got one of each, perhaps.
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Christy Lucas, Fairhaven Union Middle High School school nurse.
Second.
Any questions or discussions on the resignation? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, contract?
Yep, I'll make a motion to accept the contract for Alexandra Foley Bowen, Fairhaven Union Middle High School, nurse prorated, $51,956.04.
Second.
Questions on the new nurse?
And actually, that placement's going to be at CES and Fairhaven Grade School. So I would just say it's a Slate Valley position. That is an ESSER funded position.
Okay, so making that notation that it's a Slate Valley position. All those in favor of that contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Any more from contracts or resignations?
Nope.
Okay. Alrighty, so committees, the finance committee met beforehand. Glenn was absent for most of the meeting on a business call, so I chaired the meeting. A quick summary of what was discussed. Number one was just some enrollment projections for our district, broken out by school. Takeaway being that enrollment is projected to be fairly stable over the next 3 to 4 years. No big declines or big increases. One bullet point regarding Fairhaven Union High School. It must be noted that the enrollment discussed was kind of inflated to a degree when you consider the students who perhaps go to Stafford or are enrolled in early college. So maintaining physical students here at the high school, certainly in the upper levels, junior and senior, is something that is under discussion by our team. And with the context of enrollment and how that rolls into the budget development for fiscal year 23, we briefly discussed some positions that are currently being funded by various grants, primarily COVID-related grants, ESSER funds, monies that will not be available going forward in the fiscal year 24 budget. And the administration is still looking at ways or looking at positions which we might not be able to, we may not need, or if we need to potentially look to fund those with our local budget, or if there's other grants that might be able to fulfill those positions. So there's just ongoing analysis right now about some of these positions and how they might be funded, given the expiration of some of the COVID grants. So more to come on that. Fiscal year 22 budgets. Cheryl provided just a recap of the projections for, surplus and whatnot. Everything is still unaudited. The audit is currently A. But there's really no big surprises there. Everything is pretty much right on key with where she's projecting things to be. Are there any questions about anything that I've spoken about with finance?
Well, yeah, as far as next year's students going to Castleton, do we have a number for that? They have to,
Not currently this year, but.
right, next year.
We have no idea yet. Way too early. We wouldn't know till
They had to
spring.
put that in their PLPs.
They do, but they could put it,
Yeah.
their PLP literally day one.
When's the deadline for them to have to commit to doing early college?
The
next year?
summer.
Yeah, that's in
So we're not gonna know till well after the budget.
Anything else, John?
Nope.
Any other questions? Okay. So we do have some warrants. Glenn, if you wanna make some motions towards those warrants, that'd be great.
Okay, I would make a motion that we pay the August invoices in the amount of $2,563,214.90.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Glenn?
Make a motion to pay capital reserve bills in the amount of $24,859.81.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion that we pay the food service bills in the amount of $19,982.12.
Second.
Questions or discussion on food service? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we pay the grants in the amount of $456,922.25.
Second.
Questions or discussion on grants? Hearing nothing, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the grants? Okay, Glenn?
Make a motion, we pay the high school student activity bills in the amount of $12,940.27.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing nothing, all those in favor of approving high school student activity, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, one more.
And I'll make a motion to approve elementary student activity payments in the amount of $490.14.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I guess that's a wrap on finance, you know, I mean, we're gonna start the season where we're gathering information and fine tuning things and developing our budget, so please participate. And certainly community outreach is something that's gonna have to happen early and often, right?
Yep.
All right, moving on to policies. I don't think there was a meeting beforehand, but there is some action, right?
Yep, we'd like to make a motion to adopt C70, use of restraint and seclusion.
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion on adopting policy C70?
I would just note that there's specific requirements from the agency of education that we follow, and that those practices are always used as a method of last resort in the event that there's an imminent threat of danger to the student.
Alrighty, hearing no further questions or discussion, all those in favor of adopting the policy C70, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the policy B33 resignations.
Second.
Questions on rescinding B33? Discussion? All right, hearing nothing, all those in favor of rescinding that policy B33, please say aye.
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 And anyone opposed? Okay, number 11 is Special Education Procedures and Practices Manual. I guess, Chris, you can speak to that.
Yes, thank you. And I spoke of this at the last board meeting. This year, our district will undergo what's called Cyclic Monitoring, which happens every number of prescribed years by the AOE. And as a condition of our funding for the Individuals with Disabilities Act, which we reference as IDEA, the LEAs are required to have written policies and procedures for implementing federal special ed laws. So this the Procedures and Practices Manual addresses those policies that are required. And if the district adopts these procedures, then it meets the requirements under the IDEA for having the procedures in each one of those policy areas. So the AOE has recommended, in conjunction with the Vermont School Board Association, that boards adopt a policy statement which incorporates these model procedures and practices by reference, which will allow future updates to be made without it having to come back to the board. So the AOE recommends that any school board incorporating this manual also upload a copy to their LEA website. So we will do that following tonight, should you approve it. What we would be asking for tonight is a motion to support the inclusion of the Vermont Special Ed Procedures and Practices Manual within the Slate Valley operating procedures for special education. So if I could have a motion to that effect, then Brooke and I will sign the attestation form, and that is something that they collect and check into when they do our cyclic monitoring.
I make a motion that we adopt this Special Education Procedures and Practices Manual. Second.
Any further questions for Chris or discussion as a board?
What did we have before? Did we have any of this?
So we have a variety of policies that impact, and we have procedures written in different areas. But this policy manual encapsulates some procedures, encapsulates them all into one area that meets every requirement under IDEA. So if we had previous procedures, they've been incorporated into these to make sure that they're all aligned.
Anything further? Questions?
So, yeah. So if we do adopt this, and that basically is our policy.
These are your procedures
procedure.
for the
Okay.
various.
Do we then get notified when the state changes, AOE changes those procedures?
Yes, we would have the liberty, if the state made changes, recommended changes to the procedures, of adopting them, or we would have the opportunity not to adopt them, depending on whether or not they matched with our protocols and our flow of special education, but we would have that option. And it wouldn't require us having to come back and tell you what all those details were and require a board motion on it.
Yeah.
Procedures we can manage and alter
It's
with the administration.
essentially you're adopting the policy statement, because procedures are always changed administratively, and we do that often when laws are updated, but.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Anything else? All right, all those in favor of adopting the SPED Procedures and Practices Manual, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, moving on to extracurricular requests. There was one for a adventure club and another for a Lego League. Are they both related to Fairhaven Grade School?
Yep. Yes, they are.
For Lego League, I did see the age range was 9 to 14. So does that also include the middle school here, or no? It's just grade school.
No, it's just the, at the grade school, we're gonna be doing it with our grade 6. Joanna Surthing, our school counselor, took a course at Castleton University this summer, and she is going to be leading this along with one of our school-based clinicians. And they want to pilot with grade 6, and then hopefully next year bring it to grade 5, 6.
So I guess we could do a motion to approve both of those requests and then ask any additional questions within that motion.
Make a motion to approve the Lego League Challenge Team and Adventure Club at Fairhaven Grade School.
Second.
Okay.
I have a question.
So first, a second, yes, question, Rick.
The money attached to both of these, this is a yearly stipend that they're getting?
Yes.
Yes, yep.
Like $925 for the whole year?
Yes.
And then the Venture Club, $462 for the whole year?
Yes, we have a stipend chart in which we determine it based on the hours that a teacher may have to put into the extracurricular activity, and it's based on the base salary for teachers on the master agreement. We don't negotiate that in this district, but that is what we administratively do. So we don't have disparity among the schools, and then each school gets a lump sum of money for extracurricular activities, which they can designate however they want within their building. But when new clubs are created, we ask that it go before the board, so we don't have, you know, one school have 50 new clubs and another school have 2 clubs, so.
So each school is limited how much they can spend.
Correct.
They can divvy up themselves to whatever
Correct.
clubs they want to run.
Yeah, yeah.
Just seems reasonable price wise. I don't.
Spend more money.
But I mean,
We're working on it.
no, I know you only got a limited amount, but like the Adventure Club, $460 a year for somebody to be in charge of that the whole year? I mean,
Remember that budget time, Rick?
Yeah. Well,
Make club jam jam.
Talking point.
Well, we're trying to build, as we're rebranding as
Right.
K6, we're trying to build the clubs that we offer within that range. Many of our clubs in the past were middle school level clubs. So we're also bringing back drama, but that has been a club that we have had in the past. And it was a very popular club. Our music teacher is going to be doing that. So again, we're just trying to expand the offerings at that K6 level.
Yeah, there's some reshuffling of the deck that's going on with all of this, and
Yes.
also with the budget lines. So it's, you know, we weren't sure what each school was going to spend this year, you know, because it's our first year in this configuration. So I think we'll have more accurate projections next year. And we seem to be doing well at spending money because there's no COVID. So we're eagerly trying to go on lots of trips and lots of extracurriculars. So trying to make up for lost time.
Okay, any other questions, discussions? All right, all those in favor of approving the new club requests at Fairhaven Grade School, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, board.
Okay, number 13, ARP ESSER update. I know Cheryl's not here. Is there anything that?
I was going to do it.
Casey?
So it was linked and it was in my board report. It's 19 pages. I don't think we need to necessarily review on it, 19 pages, but as we do shift some of the monies around based on if we can hire staff or not hire staff or decisions that we've made here, I just wanted to update you that there's been some changes in some of our investments. We've increased some and decreased some. We increased the middle school investment amount to cover the permitting, and that was a $23,000 increase. Boys and Girls Club, we've been trying to figure a way to sustain a relationship that would give us a couple more years to figure out how it is we might look elsewhere for funding if we can't sustain it with ARP ESSER money. So we increased the amount in this grant by $35,000. School-based clinicians, we increased an amount of money to make certain that we could cover those salaries and benefits for this year. And an academic coach, someone that works with me, there was an increase there. And so we reduced in areas, we reduced in some summer programming. We no longer give sign-on bonuses, kind of grants that we were providing, or monies we were providing through this grant when we were first hiring through COVID. We have currently a nurse since we went down from 8 to 7. We reduced in that area as well. And so nothing has changed in terms of what was written originally, which had to go through many rounds of, feedback through different means, whether that was survey or conversation. It's just there were some increases and decreases. The total number of money, the amount of money we have of $4,107,000 something hasn't changed. $402,177,000. So it's just an update.
Also, I think everyone should know, and I think it's in your report, that we did receive additional art ESSER money in terms of an after-school grant, thanks to Casey's work in writing that grant to support after-school programming in Benson and Fairhaven. We had, Boys and Girls Club had applied for a 21C grant for Castleton and Orwell, and they were successful in that, but we didn't have a longer-term plan for Benson and Fairhaven. So Casey was successful in securing that additional money. And this is something we'll have to talk about during budget time, but we do pay a large portion to Boys and Girls Club for our after-school programming. And in talking with parents, many of our parents say that's one of the most important things that we do, but it does cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But right now we're funding it with grants, so that'll be a discussion point. Need to be a discussion point coming up, but Casey was successful in securing additional funds for those schools.
To run this next year?
Run
Yep.
2 more years.
2 more years.
Oh, 2 more.
So
Yeah.
to the fall of 24.
But like with the 21C grant for Castleton and Orwell, we have to supplement that. Right now, we're supplementing it with ARP, ESSER 3 money, essentially, if you want to think of it that way. But all that's going to run out here in the next year or two. So there needs to be a long-term plan for that, because right now our parents are paying very minimal amounts to attend these programs in our district.
So our goal was
Who's gonna hook us up?
Yeah, I haven't heard from them. So I don't know.
Who was?
Bernie.
Bernie.
Sanders.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
Big advocate.
Of after-school programming. He must be a little tied up with something else, but
So the boys and girls, they were pre-COVID, right? They were here 1 year before
they were
COVID
in
came?
Fairhaven grade school, and then we
So we
moved
paid for
them.
that.
No, we never used to pay
We've
for
never
it.
paid for boys and girls.
This is
out
a
of our
new
own pockets.
partnership that we started during COVID.
At all the
Also-
schools.
Huh?
At all the schools.
I mean,
Prior to that, it was a
Castleton had a program too, but they used BAC, which went by the wayside during COVID. And so we brought Boys and Girls Club in, and then we expanded it to our other schools. And it's a very popular it's very popular for our families. So it's a big undertaking. It's another thing that administrators are trying to partner with and manage, but it's a benefit to our families and our students, and it is a cost for us currently.
It's a cost for us in the
That's
budget, but
misleading.
it's paid through grants and stuff at this point.
Right now, it's paid
Yeah,
through
we aren't
grants.
paying anything, isn't a cost to us.
Locally, right, but to sustain it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, all federal money does
Right.
cost
No,
us
no,
something,
right. I
but,
understand.
yeah, but to sustain it long-term,
Yeah,
we would need probably about 250,000 a year.
For all 4 schools? It's not bad.
How's your staffing?
We struggle a bit with that, but
That's not our job, is it? They have to find
no,
their staff.
they find the staff.
we contract.
Yeah, we
for-
struggle a bit with that.
I mean, you still
They
have to
just
have
hired,
ratios.
they just hired a new director for Boys and Girls Club, which happens to be one of our current employees, Nicole Rice, will be working as the director for Boys and Girls Club, which we're losing her. We're losing her here as our Aware LEA grant coordinator. She's going to work in Boys and Girls Club, which also will, be a huge benefit for us, and it's a huge deal for her. So we're very happy for her, but that also leaves another vacancy within the district.
Rutland County, she's going to work for?
Yes,
Not just our district here.
right, but we have most of the programs.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. There's only 2 other, there's Barstow and Rutland City.
Oh.
Otherwise, we have the other programs.
Okay, where are we? Anything else? ARP,
That was it. Yep, so it was an update, just as, shifts are made based on decisions that you're aware that there's this document that sits on our website that I manage and update based on decisions that are made.
But I think, are we well positioned to have, I guess, a soft landing? I mean, we didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
overextend ourselves with
Right.
all this free money, and when the free money's gone, we're still gonna be in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, we spent most of the money on the construction of the middle
Yeah,
school,
yeah.
so there's a lot of schools out there that put all of their money into personnel if they could find them. So, I mean, we don't have necessarily the fiscal cliff that other districts are gonna see.
Boys and Girls Club is our second largest investment after the middle school.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
The next item is me as well.
Go for it.
Yep.
Chip update.
Yep.
CIP.
CIP. So again, it's in my report. Annually, I work with administrators. They work with their teams at the building level. We also talk as a district team around how it is we're going to use more grant funds, the federal funds that I mostly manage, that also supports part of my position as well. And so as part of that annual process of our putting together plans and trying to figure out how it is we can best support the needs of students and teachers supporting students, we have these plans that we put together. And so generally speaking, I wanted to share with you that there are 8.5 positions that come out of these funds. Part of it is myself, and that of those 8.5 positions, we are focused on the academic and social emotional well-being and improvement of our students. And so I generally, in my central office report, included that. And again, are just making you aware of that. Part of the requirements of receiving these federal funds is to make certain that there is a share out of how it is the school district uses those monies. And so those 3 broad areas I put in there of academic achievement, student engagement, and social emotional learning are the 3 areas that we set goals in our buildings. And they're beneath our strategic planning goals. They all kind of work in kind of concert with each other. And we track progress as we're monitored on the program side, as Cheryl is monitored on the fiscal side in regards to how it is we use those funds.
All right, any questions for Casey? No one wants to challenge him?
That was aggressive.
Wow, why does one challenge you?
Challenge. Like a thumb war? That's about all I could handle.
It all tied very well together, Casey. Yes, it did. Okay, all right, let's move on to the appointment of truancy officers.
The one-on-one meeting with you.
Yeah, so
Sounds official.
well, it is. You have to take
In your
official
one-on-one
action,
meeting.
but every year you're required to appoint truancy officers. The state asks each school district to select 2. Typically, we select the SRO at the high school and one of our other SROs. I mean, in general, I would like all of our SROs to be appointed as truancy officers, but the names that I will submit to the state are Ed Hunter and Pete Lantello would be the ones that I would submit to the state. But I would like the motion to be that all of our SROs are acting as truancy officers.
I'll make a motion that we have all of our SROs as truant officers.
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion on the truancy officers? I'm just curious, how often do they have to get involved?
I mean, I can let I'll defer to the principals, but you know, there's some pretty egregious cases that they're involved in. They might go out to the house and, you know, especially if a kiddo hasn't, you know, come to school in quite a long time, you know, meet with families. We do try to, you know, that's not our first step, that we use our home to school liaisons. We use our counselors to connect with families and try to figure out what's the reason that the child's not attending school and work on solutions to that. The truancy officers are the ones who would write the affidavit that goes to the state's attorney's office for, you know, possible prosecution in truancy. There have been some significant changes in truancy in Rutland County by the state's attorney's office. They are being pretty aggressive with it. Apparently, Rutland County has the highest number of truancies in the state. And so they're requiring schools to do very specific things, like if a child even misses 5 days of school, we're to send a certified letter to parents. We have very specific guidance that we need to follow this year that may.
Is this with no communication? I mean, a parent can call in or a guardian can call in and say, this is the
Correct.
reason.
This is, yes, unexcused absences. But we typically have never sent certified letters at 5 days. So, I mean, it is going to be.
Haven't sent them.
Right. It's a much more official process.
Even if a parent calls in, that doesn't mean they're excused.
That's right.
Not necessarily. It depends on the reason.
Correct. So an unexcused could still accompany a parent phone call.
If you go to Florida for a
Absolutely.
week, you could get a letter.
Absolutely.
If you, I have to excuse
You
up
fill out
to, I
10.
can excuse up to 10 days if you're requesting an educational waiver.
I told them.
But if you're going to Florida
To get
and not requesting a waiver, those are unexcused absences.
You don't get to just take your kid out of school. I want to make sure that message is clear.
So it's a much more intense approach. One of the things that we've noticed statewide is each county now has a different approach. So that's really cumbersome for districts like ours that function in Rutland and Addison County. So, and you have high school, middle school that has kids from both Addison and Rutland County. So it is something that I've, kind of decided to advocate at the state level for a statewide procedure on it rather than having county by county differences. It causes mass confusion for parents and staff and creates inefficiencies within the system. So it's something we're working on, but Rutland County does have one of the strictest moving forward, and the state's attorney's office sets that. That's not up to us. And so our attendance procedures, the handbooks were all updated according to those new guidelines this year. So
who handles the truancy letter going to parents or guardians?
the school
The
district.
school? In the school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the attendance, person. Yeah,
At each school, not district.
correct. Each school, it's handled locally at each school.
Okay.
And we have a set of procedures that, if your child's missed 5 days, this is what the school is going to do. If you've missed 7 days, this is the next step. Parents are going to come in for a meeting, those types of things. We have kind of progressive. And we're talking for students age 6 to 16, because that's the compulsory education in the state.
Well, 17, 18-year-olds are out of the picture.
Well, it's not,
They won't follow.
it's not, they're not required under the law to attend school. You only have to attend school till you're 16. And kindergartners typically, depending on the age, are not required either, so.
So being that we're in two counties, if it's a high schooler that.
We're following Rutland
Well,
counties for right now because it has the most hoops to jump through. So if we jump through those, we'll be good in Addison County.
But can the SRO from the high school go to Addison County if the need?
Yeah, actually, yes. And yes, they're dealing with Addison County, like Castleton PD, who's our SRO for Orwell. They're also dealing with Addison County. They can write affidavits for any of those.
All right, so Brooke wanted a motion to designate all SROs as truancy officers. So I'll make that motion.
I'll make a motion to accept all truancy officers, SROs as truancy.
Yeah, Peter already put the motion out there.
Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
seconded it.
did it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right on that one. I seconded Peter's one. To my last call back.
Yeah,
You did. Take it back.
All right, so we've already made the motion. There's a first and second. Any further discussion on the appointment of truancy officers?
It's too hot.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving, requesting that all SROs become Truancy officers, please say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Anyone have any other business to discuss?
I
Yes.
have something to bring up. Just a question about the onboarding process for families coming into the district or not, if they've been here. So as a parent, you receive this huge packet of forms. You're writing down the guardian names and phone numbers like 10 times. Is there any discussion about creating a digital format for parents to?
We did that last year and parents did not utilize it.
Okay.
It's hanging on by a.
We had pretty much mass refusal of parents to do it that way.
What would happen is there was multi-steps involved in that process. So the initiation was them first like signing up so that they could get the rest of the information sent. They were very good about doing that initial sign up. And then when the volumes of information got sent to them, we wouldn't get things back. And
So-
then it was chasing everybody individually, trying to track down which forms, and trying to get them to submit and not getting responses to emails and phone calls.
Okay, so is that an issue of communication to the parents? Like that when it's the beginning of the year that they have to complete the information packet that they're supposed to do it online?
Well, we had that option. We had them actually coming in, registering. It would initiate that online piece, or they could call and we would send them. But once we sent them that initial link, they weren't responding to the requests for the additional information.
They would only respond to paper requests. So it's something that we've been struggling with. I mean, we have the capability. It's just something we're not getting the
Interesting. though,
information.
Because I got a packet, but I only had to fill out one of them. The rest of them didn't apply to me. I only had to fill
Yeah.
out one piece of paper. The rest just, you know what I mean, just didn't apply to me.
And I
Well,
think
I only
that's-
fill
I
one
think
out.
that's been part of the struggle with the digital one is that the particular product we were working to implement, some of their workflow processes, I would say, left something to be desired, maybe would be the best way to say it. So I think it often became confusing for parents trying to figure out what parts they needed to do, which parts they didn't. And a lot of it, I think, too, also related to, in particular, the new student registration. I think that part really fell pretty flat.
Correct.
Due largely to, we need like copies of birth certificates, and a lot of parents didn't have a way to scan a document and send it in, or, so it was like Deb calling them saying, here's how you can try to scan and do a PDF on your phone. And it's an idea that I would say we don't label as dead in the water, but we know it's struggling and we need to try to figure out what the route forward is. Is it trying to circle the wagons again and see, is it worth trying to revive, or based on the general consensus we got back, do we say, well, we tried it, but maybe this is something we need to revisit again in the future?
Because I think a large number of parents, if they were doing it, they're trying to do it from their phones and it just wasn't. I mean, you need to have a computer.
I know with like multiple kids especially, so I'd like, all right, take a half of it to my husband and you fill them out and.
I actually put see other form.
Really? Okay, well maybe that's what I should have done. Or, check out last year's form.
Is that appreciated when I do that? See other form?
Actually, it's in a different school.
Yeah.
It's really appreciated.
Some of the schools also tried a strategy in past years, and Walter, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but they had tried a strategy of sending back a template that had the information that was already populated and sending that back.
And just
to the
change
parents, change your updated information. But I don't know how
Again, like all of those strategies, I'd say it's a mixed bag. We got some that people were like, that's great. Others, I moved 6 months ago and I never even got that. So that's probably been the biggest struggle, I would say, trying to send out like the pre-populated stuff, is that we often found, people's mailboxes changed or whatever, and they maybe didn't notify us when that actually happened, which made life interesting.
Okay, well,
it's a work in progress.
I guess, I would advocate for
ideas.
streamlining it somehow and putting it digital. I mean, even if it's a PDF and you just have to, it's all the same forms and you just have to put in the guardian names once and then it populates in the PDF and print it off.
We did look at, in particular, for like PDFs for electronic signature, and we are a district that fall right in that middle ground where we're not big enough to qualify for really nice volume discounts for those services.
Yeah.
So the per envelope cost, as it's called, made it significant to try that out.
Yeah.
So definitely something we're open to feedback on, I'll say from my perspective, because I would love to try to do it more digitally.
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure how.
And I'm sure the folks filling out this information into a system would appreciate that too, or they're not.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar in other school districts. I was very happy this year to only have one child left instead of three. I didn't get, you know, the hand cramp.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar. It's a
We've
struggle.
also tried to change in support of that, because people's phone numbers and addresses and information does often change frequently. We have a system for ensuring that one person is making those changes so that it gets changed in all our different systems, because not all of our databases necessarily talk to each other. So it's ensuring that it gets changed in multiple places.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other business? Okay, before we do executive session, agenda building 2 weeks from now, anything to be on the lookout for?
I mean, we'll have building and grounds and policy. We'll have a few policies that policy committee is going to review, so that may come up at the board meeting. I don't think anything major. Casey and I do want to start talking about profile of a graduate, but we're hoping to convince you to turn one of those October board meeting days into a board retreat. So where we can do that work at that. So, because we have 2 board meetings back to back, I think, like the 17th and the 24th or something like that. So, we're hoping you might want to do that work at one of those. But nothing major that we're aware of right now.
Alrighty then, so we will need a motion for executive session, personnel purposes for review of Brooks' superintendent evaluation. She's the only administrator that needs to be present, right?
Make a motion, we go into executive session evaluation work.
Second. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.